Hi, my families. It's Kim coming to you for today from my favorite chair in my favorite sweatshirt, and I'm still wearing my jammies that you'll see in the video that's coming out for the kids. I'm uploading one. I've been uploading it for 24 hours, and it's still only at 52%. So I'm getting a little better as I go because now I've learned I can record right on YouTube. So there won't be uploading after this next one comes out, and I'll just put them up and you can watch them all. Now, this is nothing that the kids can't hear, but some of you, well, actually, most of you, I think, know me as just a special education teacher. But I am also a behavior specialist. And so I wanted to put up a video well, really for any of you guys. I use these techniques with all my toddlers, whether you know it or you don't. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was picking your battles, because that's a major one right now, right? We're stuck. I know we're safe. We're safe at home, but sometimes it does feel like we're stuck. And I'm sorry, this is not a good setup for me with my phone. You know, I have shaky hands, so let me set it down and do it that way. I can't guarantee that this won't be a shaky video, so I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm gonna get something, put it right behind me, or right behind the phone. So maybe I can be hands-free. Maybe. What's holding it up is a stuffed animal that's at least 43 years old from my Aunt Betty. Okay, so picking your battles. That's a hard one in this situation because if you have older school age kids like I do, they have work to do every day. They can entertain themselves. A couple times they've come to me and said, I'm bored. You entertain me. And my daughter's so funny because her thing is always, well, you decided to have kids. And she was laughing at Mark and I, Mark's my husband, because we said, do you know what our parents would have said if we said that to them? They would have said, I have a job for you, or just literally kick your butt outside and go play with your friends. Well, my son and daughter can't be with their friends, so that's been pretty tough for them. Um, my daughter is a senior too, and so she knows, she's sorry, she's missing out on all those great things. And even if you hated school, you remember your senior year because it was, I'm getting out of here, thank God, this is the end of it. And I feel bad for her because she doesn't get to celebrate that and have all of those fun moments. She's literally stuck in her room. They have given the high schoolers so much homework. It's unbelievable. I thought she had work before. Well, since they're not actually in school, and it's been tough for her because, there's new concepts and she's expected to just hear it and see it on Google, whatever they do it on, and know it. And I don't know how she's doing that because I am the woman of 4 million questions. So I'm really proud of her that she's even keeping it together. I mean, but keeping it together, she's hilarious during all of this. So I thank her for that and I appreciate her for that. And my son, yesterday was the very first day that he said that, I want to go back to school. I hate this. I can't be with my friends. And for him, his friends all live on the street. So there's a big gang of boys that runs around together and plays, all those fun things. They ride bikes, they play football. If it's bad outside, they go inside and play video games. And, so he can see his friend who lives directly across the street from across the street. So he came to me yesterday and he said that he's frustrated as well. And, I get it. I totally get it. Some people are not cut out to just be in the house all the time with just the family members that you have. And now we've come to a point where we can't even have friends over. Um, my daughter was allowed to have one friend over, and now he can't even come over because he is self quarantined. So, I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot on us parents, and it's a lot on the little ones. And even though the little ones, you can't sit them down and explain what COVID-19 is and why they can't, go out shopping with you like they do every week and get a treat or a book or go to the library, or you don't even really want to go to a park because you have to stay so far away from people. And if there's people on the jungle gym, well, then you can't be on the jungle gym. And, so I mean, they are feeling it too. Like, I'm sorry if you hear my dog, she is upstairs barking up a storm at any dog that goes by. But yeah, so they can't get out either. And we can't explain it to them, can we? They just know that something is very different and they feel the emotions, but they don't exactly know what they are yet. So, probably in your toddler, if they're feeling this, it's going to manifest in behaviors, those fun ones that we always talk about. So that's why I want to talk about choosing your battles while we're home doing this. So, what are some of the strategies that we've used previously? Well, obviously, we're still using verbal and physical praise for anything they do right. I don't care what it is. Woohoo! I can't believe you picked up that piece of paper. You guys have heard this from me a million times. Over celebrate it, make it obnoxious, because remember, they're not understanding the difference at this age. Well, some of them do, but as a whole, typically, they don't understand the difference between positive and negative attention. So remember, whether you're hugging them or yelling in their face, which I hope you're not doing, but we all lose it sometimes, and I get that, that's attention, So we want you to seek it out, or we want them to seek out attention positively. That's why I want you to keep doing the praise. I want you to keep doing the humor. If you see your child starting to get frustrated and escalate, use those techniques that we talked about, like distraction, something as simple as playing a game, or just peekaboo. Even just sitting down and playing with their toys with them. If you can see them escalating, try to intervene before it happens. So remember, we talked about proximity. That's being close to them. You can literally just move closer to them, but don't say anything like, oh, you need to calm down. No, just move over closer to them. If you want to say anything, just be like, hey, how you doing? I'm here, buddy. Can I play with you? Can I do something for you? And our little ones without language, that is going to be super frustrating during this time. They're going to probably not know what they want because it's like we're stuck. Oh my gosh. But definitely, try to keep communicating. Try to keep offering them choices. Offer to play more with them than you usually would, because you know me, normally I say, hey, make those kids independent, but this is a time when you see them escalating that you really want to show them love and understanding and patience. So please do that. Remember, they're just little human beings, and if we're frustrated, imagine how frustrated they are, because we can talk to each other. I can come on YouTube and I can complain, or I can call my best friends, Tammy, Rob, and Letitia, and complain to them, or my husband is the best one to complain to. Because he feels the same way I do. But we have someone to complain to, like that. We can express our emotions and our feelings. Well, they really can't I mean, they can express their feelings and emotions, but remember, they're usually big feelings that they express. They usually just express mad, sad, and if you want to keep the rhyme scheme, glad. I usually just say happy because they know what happy is. But remember, sad is this. I always used to call my kids the saddest little boy or the saddest little girl in Buffalo. And I'm like, oh no, the saddest little boy in Buffalo is here. What's wrong? Because it is bigger. It's a much bigger emotion because they can't express it to you. So I also want to stress whining, crying, growling. Our toddlers growl at us. Those are all very typical things, and those are just them saying no. They can use their voice however they want to use it because they have control over that. So if they want to scream, they're going to scream. The best thing to do for the whining, the crying, the screaming is planned ignoring. So you're literally not looking at them, you're not talking to them, you're walking away, you're turning your back, whatever you have to do so that they will not seek out attention in that negative way. That's why I always suggest planned ignoring. I think many of you have heard this story about planned ignoring and taking the power away, because that's also what you're doing with planned ignoring. You're taking the power away from it. So if, Susie knows that all she has to do is fall on the floor and cry and you'll give in to her, that's what she's doing. She's using that. She's giving that, or you're giving that power. She's trying to use it and you're giving it power. So here's a story. This is a worse story than whining and crying, where taking away the power worked. And we used planned ignoring after that. Some of you have heard this, some of you haven't. When my daughter was about 6 years old, she came home and we were sitting at dinner. And she looked at us, and it was just the three of us. And she said, I learned all the swear words today. And I was like, oh. Well, I had known, though, from having a classroom of children who had emotional and behavioral delays. They were older, though, that they used that language on purpose to try and get me and Miss Pat and Miss Carol to goad us into being how they are, being in their mood, really, and I can't even tell you how many times I fell for that, like, no, you're not going to say that in my classroom. Oh my God. So I had kind of learned from that, and I had talked to Mark before it happened, and I'm like, it's going to happen, because I just knew. It happened to all of us when we were little, not little, but 6 to me is little, when we went to school and we heard all the dirty words. So I prepared him. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let her say them, and then we're just going to ignore them. So we said, okay, now's your chance. That girl, my little blonde hair, blue-eyed little peanut, she looked like a Gerber baby, said every foul, dirty word, I think pretty much that I'd ever heard. But we didn't react to it. So it didn't cause a disruption, is what she wanted to do. She wanted to make a disruption. So we let her say the words. We didn't react. We used planned ignoring with those words. We just let her say them. And then we just said, are you done? And she said, yep. And it's never been a problem since. I mean, she slips, I'm not going to lie. But she's an adult now. She's 18 too. So, yeah, so planned ignoring worked really well, and that was at 6 years old. She's also the girl, though, that only had one tantrum, literally one tantrum. She trapped my husband and I in a room because she was right in the walkway. So we literally just, she's kicking, or on the floor kicking and screaming and crying. And so we just turned our backs, and we were laughing so hard because we couldn't get out of the room. And at some point, I don't know how long we were in there, I saw her out of the corner of my eye, because as a behavior specialist, I'm always using my peripheral vision, watching for patterns. I literally saw her pick her head up, look at us, and our backs were turned. And she's like, oh, it wasn't getting any reaction. And she never did it again. My son, on the other hand, was the one, I think I've told you guys, we were in the mall every week for a good 6 months, every Wednesday night for 2 hours, practicing planned ignoring. And we would eat dinner together. So my husband would come from work and I would come with the kids. And then he would take Maddie home because he couldn't handle it. That's so funny, isn't it? And every Wednesday night, I walked John around the mall. It started with we'd make it 10 feet. And then he'd be tantruming, always in the same place, always tantruming in the place where everybody's walking past you. And, people are giving you these looks. And I'm just saying to them, I'm teaching this child how to navigate the world. How is you saying that or looking at me helping? So I did. I spent 6 months using planned ignoring, always in front of that big glass window at the Gap, too. And everybody's looking at you through the big glass window. And you can't say anything to them because they're not walking right past you. But yeah, I spent 6 months. So it was not easy. I get it. Like, as mothers especially, and fathers do have this, but for some reason it's just built into our mother's DNA. We can hear our kid crying. It doesn't matter if we're dead asleep. It doesn't matter where in the house. We just know, and we hear it, and a sound clicks on in our brain that, like, oh my God, you have to tend to this child. Well, toddlers, you don't. If they're sad about something real, obviously tend to them. I'm not telling you to ignore it if they've hurt themselves, or if, their cat is sick, or, there's a million things they can actually be sad about. But if it's just that you told them not to do something, ignore it. If they cry about it, ignore it. Don't comfort them after you have said no. Let them work through that emotional cycle. That is coping. So if you say something that makes them angry and just know the word no, and then you pull them onto your lap to comfort them, that's creating a mixed message. So what I want you to do is let them deal with the no. Let them deal with if the boredom throws them into a tantrum. Let them just have that emotion. We don't want to tamp that emotion down. We never want to break a child ever, ever. Because someday that fire, if they have that, there's some kids who just have that little fire in them. My daughter has had it since the day that she was born, and it's served her well as she's gotten older. She goes for things that she wants. She has that internal motivation, and I think that comes from her fire. So we never want to tamp it down, but we want to teach them how to challenge it, or challenge it. Channel it. There we go. Channel it. There's my little hand motion for channel it. My son is a channeler. I have to give him ways. Well, now he can channel it on his own. He's 11, and he knows, he can go up in his room. He can scream. He can hit pillows. He can hit things. He can throw, obviously we're not throwing any glasses or anything that's breakable around. He knows obviously not to do that. But we've purposely given him a ton of things that he can punch and throw around. And boys are just typically, I should say, a little more aggressive than girls. And that's just because they're born with testosterone. Boys are not, different in any way except that they have testosterone, and that can make them a little more aggressive. But I will tell you, I have walked out of families' homes bleeding from little girls too. So what is the point of this? The point of this is that there's going to be more tantrums, and there's going to be more attention seeking in a negative way. And if there isn't, you're super lucky. You are super lucky. But just remember, please, that they are human beings too. and their mad and their sad is real. Um, I am the first one to ignore them, but I am also the first one to say, I'm sorry you're mad. While they're going through their tantrum, I will sit right next to them and just say, I'm sorry that you're mad. Or if it's sad, because I can kind of tell um, with the kiddos which is which, just because I'm the one who made the directive that, put them into this state. So if they're sad, like, no, you can't have that 12th piece of candy. And their face just, goes into that big lip. And then they said the tears come and that, like that sad tantrum. So like, I'll just tell them 100 times, I'm sorry that you're sad. I'm sorry that you're sad. I'm sorry that you're sad. And I'll keep saying it throughout the whole tantrum. But that is the only thing I will say, because you have to judge from their body language and the intensity of their crying. Are they done with it? Because if they're not done with it and you say, are you done? They're going to go, "Wah!" And it's going to be even more. And you're going to be ignoring it for 20 more minutes. So wait till it really settles down. And I wouldn't say a thing like, are you done? I would probably say a thing like, oh, your body looks so much calmer, or, oh, you put your tears away. Good job. And wait for them to approach you. The reason that we don't interfere is, like I said, we have to have coping skills in life. And this is their time to develop those coping skills. And if it's a mad tantrum, same thing. The only thing usually with a mad tantrum that you have to make sure of is, are they safe? Am I safe? Are they safe? If they are safe, just let them have it. Because if you pick them up, that is like the worst thing ever, because all of a sudden you've created this big chaos and this big struggle, and you're in their space and they're already mad. So let me tell you how badly that ends, because I've done it a million times. I've been doing this now for 24 years, and I have been bitten through the skin. I've had hair pulled out from the root. I told you I've been bleeding from kids. I have been told so many dirty things. It's unbelievable. I have been headbutt. I have been headbutt in the mouth, where my mouth was bleeding. So like, toddlers can be dangerous. They don't want to be dangerous. They don't want to be out of control. They don't like it. They might seem like they like it, but they don't. Imagine your body being that out of control and your emotional state being that out of control. You would not feel safe. So the goal is that we teach them these coping skills. And if you interfere with one of those mad tantrums, you may just end up on the end of some injury, as well as themselves. You put them in danger the second that you try to pick them up and restrain them in any way. Now, some families have seen me pick a child up. Never restraining, ever, 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 ever restraining, never, ever, 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 ever. I just work more with body weight, and I shift my weight with them. So never pick up a child if they're safe and they're tantruming, because it just throws it into this whole new realm that, like I said, they're going to be fighting back. Now, if they're not safe, that's a totally different ballgame. Yes, I do pick them up, but I never, ever restrain them. Like I said, I'm just kind of shifting and moving with their body weight. And then when I realize that they've become safe, I put them just right back down in the spot that they were in gently. And I do say to those children, I have to hold you to be safe. I have to hold you to be safe. I'm sorry you're mad. I have to hold you to be safe. But remember, my hands are never, ever together. This child could literally get up and walk away at any point. I'm just shifting, like I said, shifting body weight. And you really have to learn with that with your own child. Don't ever do it to anybody else's child, obviously, ever. Don't ever interfere with somebody else's tantrum. That's just, it's my job. But, if somebody did that to my child, forget it, but with your own child, you'll come to know like how it feels, but never restrain them, never. I have had families who have had to put their child in their crib, which I know that's controversial. Some people say don't do it because then it creates a negative space for sleeping. But if a child isn't safe and they will stay in their crib and cannot get out of it, then you know what? You have to do what keeps your child safe. If you have a big pack and play, the ones on the floor as well, if they can't get out of it, and they're safe, and then throw some pillows in there, and always, 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 always be within that peripheral eye distance. Don't ever, ever, ever fully take your eyes off your children when they're in distress. Don't ever walk away where you can't hear them or you can't see them. Turn your back. That's what I do. I do like the 3 feet, three. I do the 3 feet away rule. Like I literally step 3 feet away with my back turned, or I'm standing to the side looking straight ahead. What you don't want is to make eye contact with the child having the tantrum. So that's why you stand so that you can like sort of see what's going on. Like right now I can sort of see what I'm doing on the side of my head. And that's how I saw my daughter's head pop up during her tantrum. So always be safe with your children. I know that you are, but I have to say it. But yeah, never restrain. That just makes everything 10 times worse. And you're not trained in it. There's an actual training for restraining, a restraining training. So don't let them have it. Let them cope. Let them find their way. There was a famous doctor, Dr. Ferber, when I was a kid, he was really popular. And this is the last story I'll tell you about just coping with emotion. So, Dr. Ferber believed in babies crying it out. Not babies, after you get to like the age of 1, of crying it out. So I remember this study, and this will tell you how old I am. So I watched the study of a family. They had to play an entire Lionel Richie album, a record. I don't know if you guys all know what a giant record is, and I hope you know who Lionel Richie is. If you want to know who he is, he's on, I think he's on American Idol right now, but he was huge in the 80s and his records were huge. So Dr. Ferber was with this family and they literally had to sit in a rocking chair the entire album. Now, when I was a kid, albums were about an hour long. So because they had 2 sides. So they had to play the entire album. And then they had to walk carefully, put their child in their bed, or in their crib, excuse me. And if the child woke up, the whole process started again. With the Lionel Richie album, that was over an hour long. So Dr. Ferber gets in there and he's like, I'm going to put some cameras in your child's bedroom. We're just going to put the child in there and let them cry. Like put them to bed normally. And if they get up, cry. So that was their bedtime routine. So they stuck to the bedtime routine. Well, he woke up and they didn't come back. And I thought, where is this going? And I was like maybe a teenager when I was watching this. So I probably should have known that I was going to be into behaviors. But what they did was they watched the child. And after about 15 minutes of nobody coming in, the child stood up in their crib and just started exploring. Like, now this was back in the 80s too, so we still had those crib bumpers and stuff, and people put things in cribs, and there were things hanging on the wall. So he starts exploring his crib and the pillows and the blankets. And then there's this like, it was a plush thing that they had hung up a rainbow on the wall near the crib. And he took that down and he was exploring it. And in all of that, he stopped crying. He started to cope. So that is what we're going for, is we want them, we don't want to control their emotion. We want them to be able to control their emotion. So let them have their emotion. If they are safe, let them have it out. It's a big deal. There are studies. again, sorry, I'm nerding you out. But I've been watching or keeping track of studies and reading a lot about children who what we talked about before, when you tamp down that aggression and you don't let them have it out, those are the kids who in their teenage years are getting in trouble with the law. So we have to channel it. We don't have a choice but to channel it and to teach them to cope. They're going to go to school and they're going to need to know this too. So those are my thoughts. So if you see they're having a tough day during all of this, give them a break. They're human beings. We're all stuck inside. How would we feel if, we were just kind of in a mood and your family was just like, I don't care. I don't care about your mood. And then, like I said, they don't have language at this age that can support their emotions. So if I put you in a room and I took away your voice and I took away any ability for you to write, I didn't give you a tablet, you didn't know sign language, no pencil, nothing, you would probably fall out too and have a tantrum. And you would need to cope with that. And it would be hard because you wouldn't be able to express yourself and what you need emotionally. So imagine too, they can't just express like that they're hungry. Try them expressing an emotion. Like they just can't do it but to cry and whine and fall out during these tough emotions. And if you notice with them, happy is a bigger emotion. So respect their emotions. Let them know, I am sorry you're sad. I'm so sorry you're sad. And I'm sorry you're mad. And I'm happy you're happy. And yay, you threw that thing away from me, or you put your toy away, or whatever it is you did well. You went pee-pee on the body. You used a fork. You used an open cup. You said a word. Whatever it is, celebrate it obnoxiously. Celebrate it. And then those things that we can ignore them. They'll go away eventually. It'll take some time because they have to get used to ignoring you. It can take up to a month for it to even improve a little bit. And it usually gets I'm so sorry, but it usually gets worse before it gets better for like a week because, you're pushing them in a way that they've never been pushed before. So they're going to push back. But it's worth it in the end. So pick your battles and give them a break because, they're feeling the same cabin fever that we're feeling. They're feeling the same loneliness that we're feeling. They're feeling out of control like we're feeling. And we wouldn't punish ourselves for that, would we? So before you punish, think about it. Think about, is this really something that I need to give a consequence for? Or is this something that I can try to redirect and distract? And I always say, try and turn it into humor. Try and turn it into, with our kids when they were the saddest kid in Buffalo, we would pick something and be like, oh, that lip, look at that lip. And we just literally like start pushing it in, or if the kid makes that kind of face. In therapy, I do the same thing. I'm like, well, I do it. And then they look at me and they think it's kind of funny. Or I say, my husband thought this was so mean the first time I said it because he didn't realize what I was doing. But I said to my daughter, I'm like, do not smile. There are no happy kids allowed in this house. Stop it. And then they might start smiling and then you see the smile and then you're like, I told you to stop it. So just anything to keep them laughing and fun and lighthearted. And when it does get heavy, ignore what you can. And if they need a little time out for aggression, I'm always down with that. But just, we're doing the best we can to keep ourselves sane. So if you need me, obviously I'm here. This is my house and I'm stuck in it. I have to go to Wegmans today. I couldn't get a pickup. Okay, so I did a pickup order on Wednesday. It's now Saturday. And this was like Wednesday morning. The pickup I could get was Saturday evening. So that's our big outing. And also too, do some fun things around the house that you normally wouldn't do. You could do some silly things like something stupid like you have cotton balls. I have pom-pom balls always in my therapy bag, and the kids think it's hilarious to blow pom-pom balls at each other. You can do that, with cotton balls, just and if it hits them in the face, which 9 times out of 10 they think it's hilarious, and then they hit you back in the face, and it's usually a little harder, but it's just a cotton ball. So have an impromptu game of roll the ball around the living room. Rolling, not throwing, I always say. Whatever your rules are. Take out some glue and just glue something on a piece of paper. Some kids love to put glue on their hands. That's a really good distraction because then, it gets all sticky and they can do this. Some kids, though, hate it. If you have a child who has any sensory differences, don't put glue on their hands unless they want it on their hands. So I've done that with them. You can make Play-Doh out of flour and water. I know because I had to do it when John was in pre-K. You can like make anything a toy. Anything that's safe, of course. Miss Kim always says, safety first, safety first. But, with the kids, we used to, when they were little, they loved to rip up the newspaper. I don't know why, but they love to. So we would give them the newspaper, and they were covered in black newsprint after it was done, but it was fun. Go outside, just go out, look for some signs of spring, even if it's for 5 minutes, just go out. And, anything can be fun. We've turned, when we had the big storm in 2006, we didn't have power for 12 days and we turned shadow puppets were even fun. My daughter had never seen shadow puppets before, or take the stuffed animals and put on a little puppet show. Anything that you can do to stave off those behaviors and keep kiddos from getting bored. And this is what I will say as my last thing. You guys always know this is my catch-all. I say this all the time, and remember it. There are no bad children, only bad choices. There are no bad children. None. They just make bad choices sometimes. And it's up to us to lead them in the right direction. So I hope this video helps a little bit, makes you feel a little less alone. If anybody wants to text me, we can do a group text. If you guys want to have a complaining text line, we can do that. You can just text me and I'll start one, and I'll complain with you. So don't let this get you guys down. I'm a very positive person, but this is this is a little hard for me as well. But what can we do, right? We all need to stay safe, and that's what I want for you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy. It's a choice to get up in the morning and be happy. It is a choice. Some days it's a very hard choice. Some days it's a super easy choice. But it's a choice nonetheless. So wake up and be happy, all right? And if you need me, reach out. I am here. All right, friends. This is Kim signing off. I love you all. We're all on the same team. Team parent. We're all parents and we all should be helping each other. So reach out to your friends too. And if anybody else, anybody else who either their child doesn't have services right now, or just for fun, or for parenting, behavioral advice. If you want to share this, please feel free. No problem. I always feel like my goal in life is just to help as many people as I can. And like I said, we're all just parents and we all should be helping each other. So signing off for now. I will see you soon. All right. Take care, everybody. And I love you all and I miss you all.